Hi there, everybody. We are live with another episode of Mentor Minutes, an opportunity for you to ask questions about your real world struggles out there. Here we take the principles and theory behind leadership and management and try to put them into practice in real world situations that come from the viewers. So as we queue up some people that are jumping on here, go ahead, ask your questions down in the comment section. Also, let us know where you're tuning in from. Leadership is a kind of universal struggle in that we all deal with people. So it spans cultures, as you will see from the viewers that are on here. I like to start out these sessions with some questions that I got either after my last episode or through private messages on Facebook or through email. Some people that want to kind of stay anonymous in those cases. And the first question is a really good one, and I am encouraging everybody to kind of tune in or type in their comments in regards to this question, because here in the States, when we talk maternity leave and planning for an employee going out on maternity leave, in the States, that's just an extended vacation. You don't get that extended 3-month, 6-month maternity leave that you do in a lot of countries around the world. And so the first question I have is in relation to dealing with a 6-month absence that an employee is going to have for maternity reasons. And I would love to get some feedback on how you all deal with that in your organizational structures. My big thing is when you know that somebody is going to be out for an extended period of time. A lot of times this comes up with surgeries that people might need to take, or a leave of absence for a family member's illness, that sort of thing. And thank you for that question, Supriya. I'll get to it here in just one second. When you have those things that you can plan in advance, and maternity leave is a perfect example of that, it is an opportunity for you to kind of put a little bit of pressure, I want to say, on the organization. And pressure is what makes diamonds, all right? That's where some of the best decisions are going to come in your leadership, is through pressure. And what you're really going to look to do is you're going to look to take a look at those 80-20 duties that are being done. What is the 20% of activities that people do that get 80% of the benefit? We all know from our leadership roles, hey, when I was a leader, I know that I wasn't effective 100% of my day. I know that my employees are not effective 100% of the day. They're sitting in, tuning into Facebook live sessions, whatever it happens to be. Patty, so good to see you here. Brianna as well. And so you know that you have that flexibility that if somebody goes out for an extended period of time, we'll keep talking maternity leave because that's what we're talking about here, that the other employees can pick up the slack. But beyond that, it's a chance to really get in touch with the priorities. What are the priorities of every single person? Not just the person that's leaving. You don't just divvy up those particular duties. You take a look at what everybody is doing and put it through the prioritization list and look for those things that do get 20% of the effort for 80% of the benefit. You want to make sure that you have those nailed down first and foremost. Then you go on to the other activities, because that 20% is the foundation for everything else. That 20% of the work that gets 80% of it, that takes you to a B- grade. All right, that's passing in most people's world. In highly competitive industries, maybe not, but that's what you want to get in touch with first. So don't just look at the person that's going out on maternity leave and what they do and divvying up their duties. You want to make this an excuse to evaluate everybody's work so that you're right-sizing the business. And what happens is that person comes back after 6 months, everybody is adjusted, and you're able to actually take your organization to another level because you've now been able to work under those circumstances. You've worked on those high priorities, which means everybody's accomplishing more. And when people accomplish more, they're generally more satisfied with their job, which actually helps them accomplish even more. It's the whole fun mindset where study after study shows that organizations that have fun at work, when people describe their work as fun, they are more productive than those workers that don't describe their work as fun. And so that's one of my big things. If you can prepare, and hey, when we're talking maternity leave, you can't say that you didn't know about it ahead of time. That's your opportunity. Either bring in part-time staff, but really, beyond bringing in part-time staff, that's the easy way of handling it, and a lot of organizations don't allow you to do that. look at their duties and look at everybody's duties and look to kind of right size the department around the priorities for everybody. It's an opportunity. Yes, it's a challenge, but every opportunity is a challenge. So I'd look for you to do that in the organization. Use it as an excuse to get better. Use it as a motivation tool for everybody else that's out there. So as I've had people jumping online here, if you have any questions, struggles, we're just talking about practical, real-world situations that you deal with every day in the work environment and how we can apply some leadership principles and practices to see you through that. So if you have anything that's going on in your organization this week, anything that's been bugging you over the last week or two, drop it down in the comments section and I'll just tackle it here in real time. Good to see everybody jumping on there. I really appreciate that. Supriya has our first question for today, and that is, I just want to ask how to change the behavior of someone if it has been a constant since so long. And so it's been a common theme here the last few episodes that I've had of Mentor Minutes, and that is that I want you all to be thinking when you're dealing with employees, when you're dealing with bosses, when you're dealing with peers, when you're dealing with human beings, we all get into those habits. And so when you're talking about a behavior or an attitude issue with an employee, realize that you're going to have to be in it for the long haul. I want to say you come up with a project plan. So you've identified, Supriya, this particular individual whose behavior you want to work on. I want you to put together a project plan for dealing with it. So what's important? You want to tackle it from a few different areas, and then you can decide how you want to mix that up. Francisco, Jella, great to see you here. So what you want to take a look at is you want to align first and foremost. If you want to change people's behavior, you've got to show them what's in it for me, or what's in it for them. All right, it's called the WIFM. What's in it for me? That's the motivation behind most people out there. They do things to get a benefit out of it. And that benefit can be the satisfaction of a job well done. Don't get me wrong. But find out for this behavior, what is going to be in it for the employee to change that behavior? How is their life, and this is the most important thing, how is their life going to be made easier? If you want people to jump on a new behavior, show them why it is easier than the current behavior that they are undertaking. And so you can do that in a number of different ways. You can create checklists. You can talk through the benefits. You can start tracking the benefits. The other way of making things easier for employees is to make it more difficult for them to engage in the old behavior. We talk about putting performance metrics up on the wall so that everybody sees how everybody else is doing on a day in, day out basis, preferably week in, week out if you can't get the daily stuff up there. And what that does is that makes it more difficult for people to be lazy and not perform. That's a negative motivator. But show them what's in it for them. And then what I want you to do is I want you to have a very open discussion about what you want to work on. Don't reference the bad behavior necessarily. What you want to do is, hey Cameron, I wanted to pull you in because I'm really looking to get your sales up. I think you can perform so much better than this. And if we follow a few simple steps, I've kind of worked out a few things here, I think you can really improve your sales, which is going to help you get more commissions. And I think we can systematize it and just make it much easier for you to do your job. And so you talk them through that. I did that off the cuff. I'd prefer it to be a little bit more of a dialogue because that helps them get some ownership over it. But be persistent in it. Show them what's in it for them. Show them how it can be easier. And if you want to change people's behavior, those are kind of the steps that you go in. But seriously, Supriya, I want you to put together a project plan for the next 5 weeks. We'll say 5 weeks. They say it takes 21, 23 days to create a habit. Other studies will tell you it takes 67 days to create a habit. So we'll err a little bit in the middle there and say 5 weeks. And I want you to put on there things that you're going to be addressing. What's in it, what's in it for them on those things. What discussions are you going to have? What weeks are you going to have a one-on-one discussion with them to address these issues? Those are the things that are going to help you be successful in turning around this one employee's behavior. Supriya, I'm glad you liked it, and I hope that works out for you. Trista has our next question. As we've had people jump on here, drop your questions down in the comment section. I'll tackle them here in real time. And hey, let us know where you're tuning in from. It's always interesting to see how similar the questions are for leaders, regardless of where they're tuning in from in the world, whether it's India, South Africa, Pakistan, Great Britain, or here in the States. So drop your questions down in the comments and we'll keep going with this. Trista's the question is, I work in an organization with different segments under different leaders and different leadership styles that are often not consistent. Any advice on how to respond to the manager X doesn't do that when enforcing behaviors? How I kind of want to tackle this is first of all the higher level thing on there. Shelley, good to see you from Ohio. Very nice. First of all, you're going to be dealing with different personalities, regardless. You're going to have different boss types. But more importantly, when we're talking from a leadership role, you're going to be dealing with different employee personalities. And so you need this exercise in getting adept at dealing with different personality types. Your employees are not robots, and you can't treat them all the same. You can treat them all fairly, but it doesn't mean that you interact with them in the same way. That's not going to get you those fantastic results that you're looking for. Now, in the case of a specific boss who doesn't enforce particular behaviors because everybody's dealing with different things, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are talking through with your peers or with your boss and talk about the benefits of getting those expectations or enforcing those particular behaviors that are out there. So step into the leadership role and start talking through the benefits of those expectations and how enforcing particular behaviors can be made easy. One of the big things, if you want to try to convince the boss of this, so we'll take that route first and foremost. If you want to convince a boss of something, tell them that you can get crystal clear on a particular behavior, and then what you do is you enforce it. And it becomes easier to enforce as it is adopted more and more down the line. And so really, that enforcing of behavior is only painful for the first 3 or 4 weeks. And then it's fine. And then you get all of the benefit of not having this behavior in the workplace. That's one of the best ways to kind of talk it through. The other thing is you need to make it easy for your boss. So write up the policy. Craft the email that he or she is going to send out. Put together the write-up form for them. This is all leadership development for you. Okay, I understand it's not your job, but that's all leadership development. Now, from a peer perspective, if you're talking to your peers and they're not enforcing particular behavior, you can kind of step up and talk about that behavior and its impact on everybody else. Man, I hate it when Cameron calls out sick every Friday. That's our busiest day. And so you start talking and you start that discussion. What's the effect of somebody calling out? What's the effect of somebody not completing their work? Hey, if we all just finished our stuff at the end of the day, none of us would have to run around searching for this stuff the following morning. So again, you're talking about what's in it for them, all right? The WIFM, what's in it for me? That's the big motivating factor in changing that behavior. Again, this is another leadership trait. This is a leadership development tool. These are the things that you're going to have to work on as you continue to move up the ladder. And so when one manager doesn't do that, you want to step into that role as a leader within your department. Help the manager, help your peers, and help the employees out in this particular aspect. It is not going to be ideal. And I know that I did not have just the magic pill that fixed this problem, because I don't really believe that there is one other than firing that manager and then somehow getting another manager in that does enforce the right behaviors and is consistent. Another thing that I might recommend, depending on your position within the organization, is to make sure that all of those managers who are kind of working together in the different segments are coming together to talk through issues on a regular basis, on a weekly, on a bi-weekly basis. That's a great thing for all of you leaders out there. If you have peers in other departments, bring everybody together on a regular basis to talk through things so that your decisions are a little bit more aligned. Again, I hope I was all helpful on that one. It's a tough situation to be in, and not always one that you can fix. in your particular role, but you can hopefully make it better, and it does give you some practice and some experience in leadership that you'll be able to take with you as you continue to move on and up in the organization. Next question is from Shirley, and it's, so how do you discipline others if upper management doesn't have no backbone and they know they could get away with it? There's a lot of, I want to say, and it is a little bit organization specific, there's a lot of opportunities for you to exert peer pressure. It's not something that gets talked about, but it's a motivating factor, and it can be used in a good way. We talk about peer pressure in the bad way, but you can have peer pressure in a good way. If you drop a terrible employee in a really healthy and motivated environment, I guarantee you their performance is going to improve because of the environment they're surrounded in. And so if upper management has no backbone, you can start setting the pace with your peers and stepping into that leadership role. It's those whole cliches that, leaders don't necessarily have a title. I can walk into an organization and I can tell who the leader is in the department over the course of a few hours just by who everybody is coming to with their questions. And it often isn't the person that has the title of leader, the person that is the most used to their peers. And so this is that opportunity where you stand your ground as far as the expectations, where you talk about it with your peers, where you pull up reports that you send out. Hey, is it okay? Hey, Cameron, is it okay if I send out this report in regards to everybody's performance once a week? Okay, you don't want to necessarily be a tattletale or anything like that, and that's why I say it's individual and you kind of have to manage it. But you can step up and be that person that looks to raise the level of performance for your peers. That's leadership, and that's what you really want to be involved in. Is those sort of changes. It isn't comfortable. It isn't fun. But as any of us who are tuning in here will tell you, you know what? Leadership is work. It's stepping into the challenge. It's stepping into those problems, not running away. If we wanted it all to be easy, we can always move back levels of management. If you're a director, you move back to a manager back to a supervisor, and things get a little bit easier. But the more you get comfortable with the uncomfortable, and the more you stand behind your principles and you talk that through with your peers, the more you're going to be apt to raise the level of everybody else in the organization. So a lot of these questions where you have bad management, all right, everybody that's out there, where you have these bad managers who are exhibiting the wrong behaviors, all right, there are ways to cope with that. Don't get me wrong. There are ways to cope with that. But the most productive thing that you can do is step up to that challenge and be the person that sets the standard for everybody else. Help that leader learn a new trait or learn the importance of this particular behavior and enforcing that particular behavior. I haven't talked about it this week, but I know I talked about it a lot last week, and that is that no leader is perfect. Every one of us has strengths and every one of us has weaknesses. And your role as a follower of your leader, as somebody who has a role in the organization, is to help cover and help address those weaknesses in your boss, just like you would look to address the weaknesses in your employees as well. All right, it works both ways. All right, that's good leadership, is addressing it from both sides of the equation. Again, hope I helped you out there, Shirley. These are tough questions. You guys got good ones today. And here, magic pill, yeah. Communication is definitely a key factor. And that's actually a question I have here that I took offline. We'll see if I get caught up, and I'll deal with when communication is actually the problem. Cindy, always good to see you here. Angela, glad you liked it. And Patty, great question. And I know I've worked with you before on this. When the leader gets upset if you step up. That's where you get into massaging things a little bit. And I don't like to massage the message when dealing with employees, but sometimes you do need to be flexible in dealing with your boss. So if you're looking to step up in the organization and you're looking to help out, again, Patty, it'll be the theme for today, and that is the WIFM. What's in it for your boss? All right, and this may be that you phrase things in a way that makes it their idea. or their way of working with things. And the easiest way to do that is to come up with something that they've said in the past. And you can even kind of fudge whether they actually said it or not, because they probably won't remember. And it may be, you mentioned that expanding our customer service was something that we really wanted to do in this particular quarter. And I think if we go forward, I think that's a great idea that you had. And I think if we go forward with a training initiative on this and just pull everybody in for an hour once a week to address this, that could be something that helps fix that. And so what you've done is you've taken their comment, you've told them it's their idea, and then you've basically inserted the way to do that, the real idea behind it. They might have a concept. And so that helps you kind of segue into making it something that they're doing, not something that you're doing, and not something they're going to get upset over. It's something that they're going to be able to take credit for. A lot of these leaders that exhibit this poor behavior are weak leaders, and so they need to be propped up. And that's a simple way of trying to get that across, is making it their idea. You mentioned before that this is a priority, and I think you're absolutely right on that. And one of the things that I thought of is doing this. Or you once mentioned that we should do more training. I think that's absolutely fantastic. That's spot on with what we should do. I was thinking about doing something like this. What do you think about it? And that's the second part. So you make it their idea based on a comment that they had about a priority that they've set. And then when you throw out your idea, you ask them, well, what do you think of that? Does that match with what you were looking for? And it's those simple things, and we talk perseverance a lot. It's something that if you tackle this a few different times, you might be able to spin that behavior around, where instead when Patty walks in the door, I know that I'm going to say no to whatever it is that she said because she's trying to usurp my authority. If you do that 2, 3, 4 times, all of a sudden they'll grab onto one of those, and then you can show how it helps everybody out and try to deal with that. But again, you're dealing with human beings, and you have to deal with those core motivations. People want to get a benefit out of something, and they want it to be easy. I can't say that enough. Your employees, your peers, and your boss are all similar. We're all human beings here. What's in it for them? What benefit do they get, and how can you make it easy? And if you tackle those two things, you're going to get across a lot more of your ideas to everybody else, and hopefully be able to make some of those changes that you want within your organizations. Great challenge, Patty, and I love that you threw that out there. Hope I was able to help with that one. Brett has the next question for us, and it's, any advice on how to change an executive's leadership's opinion about perceived bad employees? Ooh, yes. Great question, Brett. Facts and data aren't working. An opinion has already been formed. So what you want to do is you want to tackle this. You almost can't tackle it directly. You almost want to tackle it indirectly. So this opinion about an employee is generally, not always, but generally built over time. And you are going to erode it over time, Brett. So it's been built up brick by brick by brick. You can only tackle it by taking away bricks at a time. So find a report or some sort of update that you can put in with this factual information that shows where this employee fits in the overall scheme of things. And this is a great, just general motivation tool for your team, but these are the sorts of things that can be leveraged over and over and over again. And tracking performance, if you don't track your key performance indicators or haven't figured out what those are, figure out what they are and start tracking them, because they play into so many different arenas, from employee motivation to budgeting and getting new initiatives created within an organization. So important to track those performance metrics. But Brett, you're going to find ways to, on a weekly basis, update your boss on performance and where all the employees fit in. Then you're going to summarize those things on a monthly basis, and you're going to start tracking that performance. You're going to get, this is a great challenge. If you're not completely familiar with Excel yet, this is a great opportunity. Start Googling and YouTubing how to deal with certain things. But track that performance over the long haul, over 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. That opinion that your boss has in regards to that employee will start to erode. It may not go away. It may not ever go away entirely. But they can have a bad taste in their mouth about an employee and not be looking for you to let that person go. And so that's my big challenge for you, is erode it over time, but keep using facts. If they've formed their opinion, the only way you're going to tackle that is with a non-emotional response to something. You may look for opportunities, this is another one for you, where you have some high-profile projects where you can bring this person in. Anything high profile where you can bring this person in and they can demonstrate their abilities, that's a good opportunity to start flipping that behavior around as well. So facts and specific high profile things are the way to flip your boss's opinions about a perceived bad employee. Yes, got it. And I'm glad that was helpful for you. I am caught up, so if you have any questions, drop them down in the comment section. I'll handle them in real time. But one thing that was referenced up above got to something that I received through email, and that is, what happens if communication is the problem? We talk about communication as the solution all the time, but what happens when communication goes off the rails? And we didn't get into specifics through that email, but you can talk about gossip. You can talk about communication where you are really just hitting the things that need to be fixed and the problems that are going on. Or you're communicating and you're only talking about shortfalls. All of these things ebb and flow. It's like a little pendulum, all right? And your communication will be positive and it'll be negative, and you just have to keep adjusting it. So when you feel like your communication is off for whatever reason, get back in touch with what the priorities of the organization are. What are your goals behind the organization? And then ask yourself how the communication as it sits right now is supporting those particular goals. What can be changed to help align it? Usually it's only a few things that need to be adjusted. If people are talking and gossiping too much, you know what? That's an opportunity to bring them together in a team meeting more. If they want that communal communication between different people, then bring them together in a larger group and start talking through some issues. You kill the rumor mill with more consistent communication in a group where everybody hears the exact same message. If you're getting a little bit more negative, then counteract that with the positive. If that's coming from a different department and you're getting just beaten down by another department throwing out information, then you know what? Then you on your side start combating that by sending out the positive things and the successes that are going on. And those things will then even out just a little bit. But you've recognized that communication can be a problem in how you're communicating. Just look for those opportunities to dial it back to where it's going to be. It is better, I'll tell you, I want to say it's a good problem to have, but it's better than the alternative, which is not communicating much at all, and where people are in their own silos, not communicating with other individuals and not making informed decisions for the rest of the organization. That's the place you absolutely do not want to be. So another great question that I received. And if you don't want to ask your question through Facebook live session here, private message me. I will keep it anonymous. Shoot me an email, cm@cameronmorsey.com, and I'll just tackle it on the next episode that I have. But those are all great questions. I've got one more that I definitely want to get to, and that is a situation where employees were going over this manager's head. They shot me an email asking what to do when people start going over their head to their boss. So there's two things that you want to deal with when employees are going over your head to your boss. The first one is actually talking to your boss about it. A lot of times, and many of us have experienced this firsthand, our leader likes to get into the weeds and almost encourages our employees to break the chain of command and come to them with questions. You want to keep that door open. Hey, I get it. You want to have that open door policy, but there's an efficient way of doing that. You are a member of management. You are a member of leadership. And so you can answer a number of these questions, and you should be answering those questions instead of your boss and your manager and your leader, so that they can work on bigger things and other things that are going on. So have the discussion with your boss and say, hey, I have no problem with people going over my head to you with particular questions, but where those questions really are in my realm of expertise, I'd love it if you would direct them back to me. What I don't want is you dealing, and this is where we're getting into that, where's the benefit for the person. I don't want you dealing with a bunch of mundane things that I can deal with. I understand, hey, that's going to happen from time to time, and it's a great way for you to put your pulse on the organization, but you have bigger and better things to be worrying about, as opposed to whether a vacation is going to be approved, or something along those lines. So when people are going over your head, have that discussion with your boss. Hey, if they've got a problem about me, they're welcome to come to you. But if it's simple day-to-day stuff, direct them back to me. The other thing that I would mention is that this is a challenge for you to start communicating with your employees more. They aren't feeling comfortable coming to you for the answers to their questions for whatever reason. Again, a lot of times this has nothing to do with you and it has everything to do with your boss and how your boss is soliciting people basically coming to them. But get ahead of that. It may be stand-up meetings. Those are very popular at the beginning of shifts, or in the middle of shift. If you have people coming in over the course of the day, have one every 4 hours or something like that, where you can start communicating updates to the team and soliciting questions. Monthly team meetings are another way to do that. Regular one-on-ones with your staff. Open those doors. What I would also encourage is start making the rounds. Manage by walking around. That's a great way to start breaking down those barriers of communication between yourself and between your team. When you're able to walk around and say, hey, did you catch the hockey game last night? Did you catch the baseball game? Hey, how was your weekend? When you can start having those regular conversations, they don't, as you can tell by just what I threw out there right now, they don't have to be work-related all the time, but that opens that communication and breaks down those barriers so people feel more comfortable coming to you with those questions. So if somebody's going over your head, talk to the person who they're going to and try to redirect those people back down to you. But also you need to up your communication with your team individually and as teams, because people are often not comfortable in one-on-one environments, more comfortable in team environments, so you hit both of those particular areas. But that's a great way of kind of trying to nip that in the bud just a little bit. Hey, if they want to go over my head and talk to my boss, that's great if my boss has the time. But if it happens regularly and with a bunch of stuff that shouldn't be on their plate, then I owe it to my boss to try to redirect that behavior. And you talk about what's in it for them and the fact they have bigger and better things to worry about, and that's why they hired you in the first place. All right, so if you have any questions, you got about 10 or 15 seconds to drop them down in the comment section. I'll keep going. Otherwise, I will encourage everybody, if you haven't jumped on the podcast yet, I'll have a link after this video is over for you to go over to iTunes or SoundCloud. I'd love to have you subscribe to the podcast. I think it's just one of those great things to have on in the background to listen to on your commute so that you can start working that leadership mind, that muscle mind for leadership and thinking through these things. So many of the answers are out there. You just have to think about them in a little bit more of a detached way. And I hope that I'm providing that for you out there. So everybody, you have a great day, and I will talk to you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.